Hebrews. This is Process of Awakening. We on our Israelite Wake Up site. We want to say this is our Sabbath Class, the 6th of August, 2022. I'll be dealing with the book of 2 Samuel today, just reading it and breaking it down. I'm asking everybody to like and share and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening and hit our notification button. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. We want to say shalom and welcome to everybody, and welcome to our channel. Welcome to our advanced Bible study. Welcome to our Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence, our prayer, and Psalms. We're going to do a little current events and some need to know information. Then we go into our Q&A. Then we go into the our Bible reading and discussion. Okay, so with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our deliverance from where we were scattered because of our trespassing against our Creator and our Redeemer. So with that being said, I want to read, I want to do a prayer, and then I was going to go into a little current events. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David, Solomon, and Samuel, Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for we know that you possess the power to turn us. And we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments, your testimony, and your statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea. Hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, I want to read the Psalms right quick. Okay. I'm going to read Psalms 2. It's why do the heathen rage? Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine vain things? The king of the earth set themselves, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder, and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Save the Lord. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled. But a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Okay, that's Psalms 2, and it's why do the heathen rage? Okay, it's a song of David when you are rightly divided. So what I want to shine a light on when it comes to this song right here is they go back. We know about how they came in and twisted our scriptures all around and gave us another redeemer when we already had a redeemer, or the Lord of hosts in the Old Testament. So I want to show you something right here. So we'll go back and I'm going to read Psalms 2 again, but I'm going to break it down. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing, right? But it says the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord, right? And against his anointed, saying. So these kings of the earth, when you go back to Melchizedek, who they want you to think that Melchizedek is Jesus Christ, right? But when you go back and you understand the word, the breakdown of the actual word is teacher of righteousness. And when you go back to, let me get it right quick. This came out the blue, but I'm gonna go ahead and break it down. So when you understand that those men that was before the flood, the 10 men that was listed before the flood, from Adam to Noah, is a title. Melchizedek is a title. It teaches of righteousness. So let me get this right quick. I'm gonna show you how that, and then these sons of men or people that's on the earth that is outside of Adam's lineage, which is these people he created on the sixth day, and not only that, the giants that came about in Genesis chapter 6. So it says, let me get it. Yeah, I'm in chapter 2 of Joshua, and it says, and Canaan. Canaan is, I think let me get it right quick. Canaan is, let me get it. Chapter 5 of Genesis. Okay. It says, chapter 5, Adam had Seth, and then Seth had Enos, and Enos had Canaan. So Canaan is third from Adam, right? Canaan is third from Adam. So let's look at what it says about Canaan. It says, and Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old, and he became wise and had knowledge and skill in all wisdom, and he reigned. This is the third son from Adam, and he reigned over all the sons of men. See that? So these sons of men ain't none of Adam's descendants. They're the people that I've showed you in other previous lessons, that the 6th-day man, Genesis 1:26, when he created a man and a woman, he spoke them into existence, and so that was 2,000 years earlier. When you understand, it's a day with the Lord is 1,000 years. So that was on the 6th day. Then he came and he created Adam, the man Adam, on the 8th day. So that's 2,000 years have passed. These people had multiplied. So you got these people right here and you got the angels came down. You got giants on the earth, which are what kings are. Og and Sihon and all these men that was in the land of Canaan, them giants, they kings, and they're the ones that was making the mail and wearing the crowns and fashioning crowns and all that from Tubal-Cain. So right here we're gonna look at it and read it in Joshua chapter 2, verse 11. Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old, and he became wise and had knowledge and skill and all wisdom, and he reigned. See that? Reign means he's a king, which is what Melchizedek is. King of righteousness, king with wisdom. He's teaching. He got all knowledge. So it says, and he reigned over the sons of men, and he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge. For Canaan was a very wise man and had understanding and all wisdom, and with his wisdom he ruled over the spirits and demons. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that God would destroy the sons of men from having sinned upon the earth, and that the Lord would, in the latter days, bring upon them the waters of the flood. So just from verse 12, we see Canaan knew by his wisdom that God will destroy the sons of men for having sinned upon the earth. So we see that these sons of men, these are giants. The flood came because of the angels came down, slept with women, had giants, and they was eating humans and destroying all the Most High's creation. So he brought the flood. So these sons of men, these giants, and they intermingle with the man that was and the people that was created on the sixth day, and with Adam's descendant. So anyway, he brought this. So this Melchizedek is the one that's teaching these people and what these between Canaan and Adam and Enos and Canaan all the way to Noah. They had turned a lot of them had turned a lot of the people to the Creator. Enoch, they had turned to the Creator, but we see right here in chapter in Psalm 2, we see right here. We're gonna pick it back up. So it says, the kings of the earth, that's these people I just showed you. The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers to counsel together against the Lord. So they didn't win against what these men and taught them, and what Enoch and all of them taught them about serving the Creator, and that what was going on in heaven, and how that heaven rules the earth. So they're going against that right here. That's what's being conveyed to us in Psalms 2, verse 2. Then it says, what else I want to shine light on is, it says, the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers took counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. So guess what his anointed is before David even came? It's Melchizedek. It's Melchizedek. When Canaan was alive, Canaan was that person. When Canaan passed, the next in line took over on down to Noah. That's the time of Noah. Noah is Melchizedek. He's the anointed. So it ain't nothing new under the sun. So anyway, it says, and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So that's the knowledge that they gave him. They don't want to deal with that no more. They're going to go against it. So then it says, 4, and he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. So we see right here, he that sitteth in the heavens is Yahweh. Then in the heavens is Yahweh shall laugh. Then it says, the Lord of hosts, shall have them in derisions. He's the one who's going to bring the derision, the delusions, right? Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king, David. He got David. He said, yet have I set my king, right, upon my holy mountain, right, of Zion. So we know that when Moses left Egypt, was driven out of Egypt, he ended up on this mountain, and it tells you the angel came in the flame of a fire on the bush. That ain't Yahweh. So that's the Lord of hosts. And then eventually he sent Samuel, and Samuel anointed David, fulfilling the prophecy of in Numbers by Balaam, when he said that he shall, let me read it. It's in Numbers, let me get it. Okay. Which nobody seems to know about, but I'm gonna read it right here. It says, this is the prophecy of Balaam about David. 14, Numbers 24, verse 14. And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come, therefore, and I will advise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. So this Balaam telling the king of Moab, Balak, what the Israelites going to do to them in the latter days. And where they at right at that moment, they on this mountain looking down at the Israelites passing through the wilderness, coming out of Egypt. So 15 says, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam, the son of Beor, have said, and a man whose eyes are open have said, he have said, which heard the words of God and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw in the vision, the Almighty, falling in the trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. It's David. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nay. There shall come forth a star out of Jacob, and a scepter. So that scepter means a king, right? Shall rise up in Israel, and he shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Sheol. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession, and for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy them that remain in the city. So when you write and divide that and go to 2 Samuel, you see that David did all that. David fulfilled all that. So we go back to this Psalms 2, which is what David is. The song came from David. David is the psalmist. So it says, yet I have set my king upon my holy mountain of Zion, and I will declare the decree. Right? The Lord hath said unto me, David talking, thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. Now we see where they get this from when they put it on JC. 8, ask me, and I shall give thee the heathen. He telling David, ask him. The Lord telling David, ask me, and I will give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, in the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. David did all that. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. Now here we go. 12. Kiss the Son. David just told you over here in verse 7. I will declare the decree. The Lord declared the decree. The Lord hath said to me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Right? This ain't JC. Kiss the Son in verse 12. David, lest he be angry and ye perish from the way when the wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are they that put their trust in him. Okay, so that's what that psalm is talking about. You know, it's not. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the New Testament. Okay. Shalom, bro. What's up, Markel? Yeah. So for people that don't know, they gave me a strike on some old video that I had posted. They gave me a strike. I woke up this morning and got a strike and 90-day strike on Prophets of Awakening. So I'm gonna try to appeal it, but in the meantime, we're gonna be on Israel Wake Up, keep moving. Okay, so we're gonna go on into our current events.
The European Union's energy woes simply keep increasing. Already, Europe is bearing the brunt of an energy blockade from Russia, which has reduced natural gas supplies via the Nord Stream 1 pipeline to a dramatic 20%. Then, exceptionally high oil prices are burning a hole in economies across the European Union. Now, another commodity from which Europe derives energy is about to go missing. That's coal. In its excitement to punish Russia for the war in Ukraine, the European Union decided in March this year that it would stop importing thermal coal from Moscow beginning August 10th. That date is fast approaching. Along with it, the realization that Europe faces a tremendous energy crunch is also dawning upon the bloc. Russia is Europe's largest supplier of thermal coal. Here's some perspective. In 1990, EU's hard coal imports from Russia stood at 7%. By 2020, that figure rose to a staggering 54%. It is important to mention here that Europe's overall coal consumption and domestic production in the same time has drastically gone down. Since last year, though, consumption is increasing again. Russia has been providing round about half of Germany's total coal supplies. In March, when the EU decided it would boycott Russian coal, the bloc thought it could easily find alternate suppliers of the fossil fuel. Evidently, that has not happened, which is why European capitals are now scrambling for the fossil fuel. Ties between Australia and China are thawing. That's not good news for Europe. You see, in 2021, China's coal imports from Australia practically fell to zero. In the months of 2022 that have passed as well, there have been no coal exports from Australia to China. That scenario is very likely to change. That means the spare coal that Australia has been sending to Europe will need to be redirected to its original destination, which is China. Shipments of Australian coal to northwestern Europe have increased to 9.2 million tons in the first half of 2022 from 5.4 million tons during the same period last year. As pointed out earlier, Europe thought it could replace Russian coal with coal from other countries. But coal supplies around the world are tight, and countries like India and China, the largest consumers of the fossil fuel, have airtight deals with suppliers. As such, the EU is finding it incredibly difficult to find coal at the right prices from anywhere in the world. Indonesia, South Africa, and Colombia are all potential suppliers for Europe, but their coal is expensive. Amid soaring coal prices, abandonment of Russian coal is set to take a heavy toll on European nations, especially the likes of Germany and Poland. The price of thermal coal used for power generation has risen about 170% since late last year. According to the International Energy Agency, coal consumption in the European Union is expected to rise by 7% in 2022. In 2021, the EU's coal consumption rose by 14%. Amid growing demand, soaring prices, and dwindling supplies of coal, how will Europe cope with its latest crisis? Do let us know.
Okay, yeah. So we see how everything going downhill for the European Union and for America because of when they put the sanctions on Russia, not understanding that it was going to come back on them. Just like it was prophesied long ago, all this stuff is unfolding. Okay, any comments on that? Okay, do another one right here.
The darkness over Gaza City flashed bright by explosions as Israeli artillery and other weapons targeted what they said were weapons factories and rocket launch sites belonging to Islamic Jihad. Moments before, an aerial duel as multiple rockets were fired from Gaza towards Israel, with most intercepted by the Israeli Iron Dome anti-missile system. Islamic Jihad said they fired more than 100 rockets. In a televised address, the Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid said his country had zero tolerance for attacks from Gaza, but that Israel had no interest in a wider battle. Earlier, the Israeli Defense Ministry had approved the call-up of as many as 25,000 army reservists and raided combat battalions, sparking fears that an Israeli ground invasion was imminent. The daylight attacks were spread throughout Gaza City. One main target was this apartment building, where a senior commander from Islamic Jihad, Taysir al-Jabari, was killed. Israeli army footage showed what they said was a suspected rocket launch site in Khan Yunis. Among the dozens of injured and dead, the body of a 5-year-old girl was carried throughout the streets.
What is this child's fault? She was dreaming of going to kindergarten and asked her father for a school bag and clothes. What has she done wrong? This innocent child.
Other funeral processions were escorted by running crowds, fearful of the next attack. One Gaza resident described what she heard and saw.
I heard about 4 to 5 loud bangs. I was asleep and I just found myself waking up running, wondering what happened. And people in the building, they just run down to the street, because they fear that there's going to be other apartments targeted.
Islamic Jihad said Israel had made a declaration of war and promised to fight back.
This is a declaration of all-out war against the Palestinian people. We will respond to that. This is a violation and disregard for all the efforts that have been made over the past days in order to restore calm. We dealt positively with these efforts, but the enemy was, as usual, treacherous.
The Israeli action followed the closure of 2 border crossings with the Gaza Strip earlier in the week and the arrest.
Okay, so we see right here that Israel at it again. Business as usual. All right. Okay. Seems like to me they fire off and fire off rockets whenever they get ready to. When they feel like doing it, they fire them off. At will. Okay.
DemocracyNow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Justice Department's announced federal criminal charges against 4 former and current Louisville police officers over their roles in the fatal shooting of Breonna Taylor. Her death in a hail of police gunfire in March 2020 sparked protests across the United States and around the world under the banner Black Lives Matter. Former Louisville Metro Police Detective Joshua Janes was taken into FBI custody Thursday morning and charged with obstruction and civil rights violations. Also charged were Louisville Police Sergeant Kyle Meany, Officer Kelly Hannah Goodlett, and former Louisville Police Detective Brett Hankerson. This is the head of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark.
Breonna Taylor should have awakened in her home as usual on the morning of March 13th, 2020. Tragically, she did not. She was just 26 years old. As Attorney General Garland just stated, today's indictments allege that Louisville Police Detective Joshua Janes and Sergeant Kyle Meany drafted and approved what they knew was a false affidavit to support a search warrant for Ms. Taylor's home. That false affidavit set in motion events that led to Ms. Taylor's death.
After headlines, we'll go to Louisville, Kentucky for the latest on the charges against the 4 officers involved in Breonna Taylor's killing. The 2 white officers who actually shot her were not charged. Ukrainian officials are urging residents to evacuate the eastern Donetsk region and head west under a mandatory evacuation order for thousands of people. The order came as Russian troops intensified their assault on Ukraine's east, where President Volodymyr Zelensky said his troops are facing hell on the battlefield. Meanwhile, a new report from Amnesty International finds Ukrainian forces are endangering the lives of civilians by establishing bases and operating weapons systems in populated residential areas, including in schools and hospitals. Amnesty says such fighting tactics violate international humanitarian law. The report drew an angry response from President Zelensky.
Aggression against our state is unprovoked, invasive, and frankly terroristic. And if someone prepares a report in which the victim and the aggressor are allegedly the same in some way, if some data about the victim is analyzed, while something that the aggressor was doing at that time is ignored, then this cannot be tolerated.
In a statement, Amnesty International said, quote, being in a defensive position does not exempt the Ukrainian military from respecting international humanitarian law, unquote. 60%. In Florida, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis is facing backlash after he suspended Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren over Warren's promise not to prosecute people who seek or provide abortions in Florida. Warren, who's a Democrat and has been elected twice, condemned DeSantis's move as, quote, an illegal overreach and said his suspension, quote, spits in the face of the voters. DeSantis spoke at a news conference Thursday.
I was shocked at
Okay, any comments so far?
Yes, shalom.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I want to say it was in the state of Texas that if you want to have an abortion, don't quote me on the state, but I'll have to research that again. And you know, you come there, they will pay for lodging, and if you can't afford the abortion, they would even pay for that. So, yeah, I mean, you still have some states just really big on that, and they're, you know, going around the law. So, but the thing is on Breonna Taylor that I'm not understanding is the 2 officers that shot her was not charged, but the other 4 officers were. That part I don't quite understand why everyone was not charged.
Yeah, well, when you look at it, what happened is like the lady Miss Amy Goodman was saying was that those 4 that they charged concocted a false warrant.
Right. Yes.
So that false warrant would trigger everything. Those other 2 cops was only defending themselves because of what they had set up, and they ended up in a pickle, and they ended up having to defend themselves being policemen. So that's why they're saying that.
So are you thinking they did not know about the false documents, the false charges?
No, they was just it's like in the army. You got the generals that give all the orders, and the other ones just doing what they told them to do.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
If they had never concocted that, them 2 men would never been in that position.
But got you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's they you know, that's their motive behind what they're saying. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then the guys that were charged, right? We hear about that now, but wondering too if we're gonna hear any more.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
But that happened every day. That same situation right there, it happened every day all over America. They concoct false poems or whatever to go in and do stuff and it's illegally done, but they got forms, and nobody never really investigated. But they doing that all over the place, like these so-called secret indictments and all that. Yeah. Shalom, shalom. Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, I was gonna go to some little need to know information. You got something? Go to a little need to know information.
No.
Okay. We got a little need to know information right here about I think it need to be put out there.
Listen, the Unborn Child Support Act. You know what that is? That's where the father will have to pay child support upon conception, meaning the child ain't even born, child in the mama's stomach, don't even know if you're the father or not, right? But you're going to be required to pay child support before this child is even born. Let's get into this. And I'm gonna apologize before I even get into this video, but I'm here for us, right? First of all, you have to understand child support was created to break up Black families, okay? Malcolm X was funded by Black families. Martin Luther King was funded by Black families. Damn sure wasn't the government. The government would never fund their own demise. And this is why I try to tell people, right? So their goal was we have to break up the Black families. And they did exactly that. Child support, Section 8, with all these different programs. And I've said this a million times. When you give a woman these programs, right, or this help, okay, first of all, it makes that woman depends on the government and not the man. Therefore, the man doesn't have a place in that family anymore. Like, open your eyes, people. It's over. A woman can kick him out because he doesn't pay the bills because the government does. All these programs were set up by design because you have to understand. These people are not sitting down. We're talking about elite Republicans, and they are not sitting down to come up with a plan to better your life. It is to better them. It's an agenda for them. You have to get this through your head, bro. Second of all, right? This is why they did it, because it breaks up Black families. The child is the one that's going to suffer in the end, right? Another reason, you have to understand this, right? Okay? You cannot be a man in a society or a woman in a society that is governed by other people. Let me break that down. You're living in a society where you're being told what to do and what not to do. You're not a man or a woman. So living under this dictatorship and this whole construct of what we can and can't do, you're only a man or a woman within the circumference of what they say you can do and what they say you can't do. We have to get that through our head. We're talking about people who put their pants on just like us. This is how strong the spell is. But when a person controls your education, they control you. When a person controls your thoughts on how you see how to raise a child, they control your actions. This is why they put these things in place. A lot of people are going to agree with this shit. Why? Because they the one told you. How you going to let another group of people, and we could break this up culturally. How you going to let, that's just like, okay, how you going to let Europeans tell Blacks how to raise their children? How you going to let, say if it was a Jamaican dictatorship, how can Jamaicans tell Chinese people how they're going to raise their children? You get the idea what I'm saying? It don't make sense. Now, going back to the child support thing. Child support was created to break up Black families. We know that. I just gave you the perfect example how and why it is like that. Now, this whole bill is going to affect poor white men, and it's going to affect Blacks as well. Okay? But this is my thing. You ask any lawyer this. The best clients they like are clients that are going through a marriage or death in the family because the emotions are all over the place. Okay? This is the same thing with child support. Emotions are all over the place. To me, I call it an invisible gun. You can't give a woman an invisible gun to hit you with because they're going to do it. And a lot of times it comes out of emotions, feelings. Rarely will it be because of the child. You got a new girlfriend, she got a new man, you buying this and you ain't buying a child that. It's so hard to govern and gauge that under this bullshit ass construct of what we call child support. If you ask that child, when that child gets a certain age, interview the child. Children ain't gonna lie. They too scared. Do you love your father? Yes, I do. Do your father come see you? Yes, he does. Do your father buy you things? Yes, he does. Or no, he don't. But they don't do that. They leave it all up to the mother. And this is no disrespect, females. But what I'm telling you is this. This is a form of emasculating a man. It is a form of that. It also unbalanced the foundation of family. Okay? We are the only ones in America, black folks. We ain't gonna say blacks. You got whites and blacks, but we don't have no culture. Other cultures you see the man leads because the woman allows him to. See what I'm saying? A lot of women, black women, got kings, got men, but you got to know how to activate the man in the man. Now, before you say this, I shouldn't have to do this. A man should be a man. And you're going to have some men say the same thing, man. If he a man, he going to be a man. But what y'all not looking at is, y'all looking at shit for how it should be and not how it is. I live in reality, not a dream world. People shouldn't kill, but they do every day. People shouldn't steal, but they do every day. You know what I'm saying? People shouldn't cheat on their wife, but they do. This is what I look at. I don't look at how it should be. I look at how it is. Now, how it is, when you show a man that he is a man, trust me, you'll get more out of him. Now, you as a woman, I'm listening because I don't know nothing about a woman as much as you do because you're a woman. But vice versa to that, I'm a man. You can't tell me nothing about a man. So you should be listening. I'm telling you, if you got a man in your life, show him he's the man. Baby, what you think about this? Show him he's the leader. Because don't no man want a woman that want to be a woman and a man. That's too much testosterone. You want a woman that's going to be a woman and can play her role, and a man that can play his role. And he know when they give you your role, and you know when they give him his role. Y'all will have a better situation. And no, I'm not talking about, oh, if you do this for a man, he still can cheat on you. See, that's the thing. We glorify negativity so much. We're not practicing to lose or glorify those who have lost. We're talking about the ones who've been together for 20, 30, and 40, and 50 years, who we never talk about as if it don't exist because the world is so full of negativity. That's all we gravitate to. So hell no, I'm not talking about, oh, you do this for a man or you do this for a woman, she's still going to cheat or he's still going to cheat. No, we're talking about that couple that been together for 40, 50 years. We're trying to be like them. What did they do? And these couples you'll never see on TV. And my thing is this with this whole child support thing is you're talking about rich, elite people sitting down, coming up with rules and regulations on what you can and can't do, right? People that'll never go through these situations. We're talking about rich, elite people. How the fuck can we let people that don't live like we live, we don't have nothing in common, tell us what we can and can't do with our children? See, a lot of this stuff fall back on us as people. We need to wake up, get from up under this spell. We don't need people to govern and tell us what to do. You don't see this in the animal kingdom. You don't see animals. You don't see the pigs. They tried to come up with this story when they were talking about the pig on the old McDonald had a farm and all this old bullshit, how they used the pigs in reference of people and how the pigs tried to take over the stable. The stable represents life or represents the world. And the pigs represents the elites or the top. But in reality, you don't see that in the wild. But with us, it's always been dictatorship. It's always been someone over another group of people telling them what they can and can't do. That's our biggest problem. We groom negativity. So by default, men are looked at to be deadbeat dads. Men that take care of their child day in, day out. They go to work. They do what they got to do for their family. Or go to fucking prison for their family. Never get their just due. Never get their shine. They'll never put no light on them. Mothers as well. We always talk about the deadbeat mother or the deadbeat dad or the deadbeat this and that. Because the same people that giving you these same rules and regulations are the ones that's controlling what we see on TV. The perception.
Okay, any comments? Or if you want to watch all of that, is do you know if this bill gets passed and what will happen to us? Is a Child Support Unborn Act. Any comments?
OMG.
Okay.
I do, yeah. I have a lot to say on this video, but I'm gonna try not to say a lot. You know,
Okay.
Prophets of Awakening family. This is our, backup channel, and it is called Israel Wake Up. Israel, we need to wake up. We need to wake up and realize that our culture is strong, it's amazing, all of that. And they are doing everything they can do to keep our black men down. And as black women, we have to, do better. We really do. You know, we have to release that Jezebel spirit. We got to get out of this independent mindset that they have put on us. That's the only way that we're going to be able to let the man be a man, with that independent mindset that we have, thinking we don't need our black men. We're not going to get anywhere. We're going to have to come back together. So I'm just gonna end it right there. I'm gonna hold off till Women's Night. I got some stuff for that, so I'm gonna hold off until then. But Israel, we gotta wake up.
Right. Yeah. So the thing about it is, you know, you can get ahead of the game and start working on it yourself, or you can let the Most High and His promises fix it. And if I was, if it was me, I would go in and start working on it myself. Because you don't want the Lord of Hope to come in and fix it. Like I said, we saw what He done with the flood. We saw what He done in Egypt with our forefathers. He brought the Egyptians on them and oppressed them. Brought Nebuchadnezzar there. So, all these things are happening for a reason from Israelites being stiff-necked. So you can fix it yourself, or you can let Him fix it. It's on you. I chose to fix it myself, or do the best I can. So, yeah. So anyway.
Yes, and in the situation you're in the situation you're in, that's what you do. You do the best that you can do, and the Lord of Hosts will do the rest.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm opening up now for some question and Q&A and comments and anything anybody got before we go into I'm gonna start reading out of the second Samuel. So read it and break it down. Anybody got any comments about anything they came across during the week, or anything they came across while they were surfing the internet you want to bring up? Okay. Let me see what we got right here. Okay. Yeah, so I got something right here, and then I'm gonna go into the lesson.
Russia is inflicting tremendous pain on Europe. We all know how Moscow has cut gas supplies to Europe, leading the bloc right into the mouth of an energy crisis to the extent that European countries are now having to ration their energy consumption. Guess who knew such times would come for Europe, but chose to go ahead with sanctions against Russia nevertheless? The United States has admitted to knowing what direction Russia would take in the case the West continued with its sanctions regime against Moscow. According to a senior US official quoted by CNN, Russia radically reducing gas supplies into Europe was retaliation for Western sanctions, and it put the West in, and I quote, uncharted territory. Most importantly, the official said that such Russian retaliation was, and I quote, our biggest fear. In fact, the official went on to admit that Washington knew that the resultant impact on Europe could boomerang back onto the US, spiking natural gas and electricity prices. Right now, the United States' biggest concern is that European solidarity may be flailing due to the tremendous pressure being exerted on the bloc's economy and energy sector by Russia's gas offensive. The CNN report added that US officials who have been in close touch, in particular with German and French officials on this topic, are extremely concerned that Europe might face a serious gas shortage going into the winter. The CNN report added that US officials who have been in close touch, in particular with German and French officials on this topic, are extremely concerned that Europe might face a serious gas shortage going into the winter. The United States is suddenly behaving like it is surprised by Russia's retaliation, and that though it knew such action from Moscow was a possibility, nobody in Washington actually thought it would become a reality. It's basically like the US got Europe to jump off a cliff and is now acting surprised that Europe did not survive the fall. The West's sanctions on Russia and its refusal to directly purchase Russian crude has sent oil prices over the roof. Such sanctions, instead of actually affecting Moscow, have boomeranged to result in price hikes across the West. Today, Europe
Okay, so what they're showing you is that these sanctions that they did when the Ukraine war first started backfired, and it's it's hurting America and the West worse than it's hurting Russia. Russia is progressing at least. Okay, so it says. No, this we already had this channel. This is another one of our channels that's tied to Prophets of Awakening. We just focused in on Prophets of Awakening, but it's videos on this channel too. So by them us in this little pickle that we in, we're able to add more videos to this channel. So it's all good. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna start reading out of the book of 2 Samuel. Read a couple chapters. Anybody got any comments before I start reading? Okay. So it says in 2 Samuel chapter 1, it says, now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag. It came even to pass on the third day that, behold, a man came out of the camp, and Saul with his clothes rent, and earth upon his head. And so it was, when he came to David, that he fell to the earth and did obstinate. And David said unto him, from whence comest thou? And he said unto him, out of the camp of Israel I am escaped. And David said unto him, How went the matter? I pray thee, tell me. And he answered, That the people are fled from the battle, and many of the people also are fallen and dead. And Saul and Jonathan his son are dead also. And David said unto the young man that told him, How knowest thou that Saul and Jonathan his son be dead? And the young man that told him said, As I happened by chance upon Mount Gilboa, behold, Saul leaned upon his spear, and lo, the chariots and the horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called unto me, and I answered, Here I am. And he said unto me, Who art thou? And I answered, I am an Amalekite. Okay? I'm an Amalekite. That's an Edomite. And he said unto me again, Stand, I pray thee, upon me, and slay me, for anguish is come upon me, because of my life is yet whole in me. So I stood upon him and slew him, because I was sure that he would not live after that he was fallen. And I took the crown that was upon his head and bracelet that was on his arms, and I have brought them hither unto my Lord. Then David took hold of his clothes and rent them, and likewise all the men that were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and Jonathan his son, and for his people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they were fallen by the sword. And David said unto the young man that told him, Whence art thou? And he answered, I am the son of a stranger, an Amalekite. And David said unto him, How wast thou not afraid to stretch forth thy hand to destroy the Lord's anointed? And David called one of the young men and said, Go near and fall upon him. And he smote him that he died. And David said unto him, Thy blood be upon thy head, for thy mouth have testified against thee, saying, I have slain the Lord's anointed. Okay. In 17, and David lamented with this lamentation over Saul and over Jonathan his son. And he bade them, okay, and he bade them teach the children of Judah the use of the bow. Behold, it is written in the book of Jasher, the beauty of Israel is slain upon thy high places, all thy mighty fallen. Okay? Tell it not in Gath, publish it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised triumph. Ye mountains of Gilboa, let there be no dew, neither let there be rain upon you, nor the fields of offerings, for there be shields of the mighty in veilly cast away the shield of Saul, as though he had not been anointed with oil. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan turned not back, and the reward of Saul, the sword of Saul, returned not empty. Saul and Jonathan were lovely and pleasant in their lives. In their death, they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, and they were stronger than lions. Ye daughters of Zion, weep over Saul, who clothed you with scarlet and with delights, who put on ornaments of gold upon your apparel. How are the mighty fallen in the midst of the battle? O Jonathan, thou wast slain in thine high place. I am stretched for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful. passing the love of a woman. All the mighty fallen, and the weapons of war perished. So that was 2 Samuel chapter 1. Anybody had any comments on it? Okay, so when you go back and do your research, you find out that David and Jonathan was connected at the hip. But Jonathan said Father Saul was envious of David because of the anointing that the Most High, the Lord of hosts, had on David. So he was constantly trying to kill David. And so Jonathan was caught in between a rock and a hard place because he loved David. He had a overwhelming friendship with David, but at the same time his daddy hated him. So we see right here in this chapter 1 that they both was killed in battle by the, I think the Philistines killed them, and so David is mourning, and he's causing all Israel to mourn for them. And David was already anointed by Samuel earlier, so David is next in line to be king. And I broke down Psalms 2, showing you how that David had already been prophesied to become king and become the Lord's anointed. Okay. So I'm in 2 Samuel chapter 2. And David is made king over Israel, over Judah. So we already know that he's already been anointed. He already had Samuel anoint him, right? So it says David is made king over Judah. So let's look at that right quick. It said David is made king over Judah, right? And I just read, I'm gonna read it again in Numbers. It says this prophecy of Balaam. So I'm doing this the stick. So I'm in chapter 24, and it says 24 and 16. He has said, who heard the words of the Lord and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw in the vision the Almighty falling in a trance, but having his eyes open. And I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nay. There shall come forth a star out of Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel, right? And shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Seir. And we see right here in chapter 2 of 2 Samuel coming to pass, right here. It says, David made king over Judah. And it came to pass, see that's why I'm saying that. It came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up go into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, go up. And David said, whither shall I go up? And he said unto Hebrew. So David went up thither, and his two wives also, Ahum the Jezreelite, and I don't know her name, and Abigail, Nathan's wife, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And his men that were with him did David bring up, every man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Judah came, and there they anointed David king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying that the men of Jabesh Gilead were they that buried Saul. And David sent messengers unto the men of Jabesh Gilead and said unto them, blessed be ye of the Lord, that ye have shown this kindness unto your Lord, even unto Saul, and have buried him. And now the Lord showed kindness and truth unto you, and I also will requite you this kindness because ye have done this thing. Therefore now let your hands be strengthened, and be ye valiant. For your master Saul is dead, and also the house of Judah have anointed me king over them. David fights against the house of Saul, but Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbak, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Manham, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Asherites, and over the Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Okay? And Ishbak, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he had begun to reign over Israel, and he reigned 2 years with the house of Judah, followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbak, the son of Saul, went out from Manam to Gibeon, and Joab, the son of Zahir, and the servant of David went out and most together and met together by the pool of Gibeon, and they sat down, and the one on the one side of the pool and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, let them arise. Then there arose and went over by number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbak and the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one his fellow by the head, and thrust the sword in his fellow's side. So they fell down together. Wherefore that place was called, I can't say that word, which is in Gibeon. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servant of David. And there was 3 sons of Zerah there, Joab, Abishai, and Asherel. And Asherel was as the light foot, as a wild one. And Asherel pursued after Abner, and in going in, he turned not to the right hand nor to the left from following Abner. And Abner looked behind him and said, art thou Asherel? And he answered, I am. And as Abner said unto him, turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay thee hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asherel would not turn aside and follow him. And Abner said again to Asherel, turn thee aside and follow me, wherefore should I smite thee to the ground? How then shall I hold up my face to Joab thy brother? Howbeit he refused to turn aside. Wherefore Abner, with the hinder end of the spear, smote him under the 5th rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many as came to the place where Asherel fell down and died stood still. Joab also and Abishai pursued after Abner, and the sun went down when they were come to the hill of Amu, right, which lie before Gaash by the way of the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together after Abner, and became one troop, and stood on the top of the hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, shall the sword devour forever? Know thou not that it will be bitter in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere thou bid the people return from following their brethren? And Joab said, as God liveth, unless thou have spoken, surely then in the morning the people had been gone up everyone from following his brother. For Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. Okay. Then it says, and Abner and his men walked all that night through the plains and passed over Jordan and went through all of Betron and they came to Manheim. Okay. And Joab returned from following Abner, and when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men in Asherah. But the servants of David had smitten of the Benjamites and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. And they took up Asherah and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at the break of day. So that was 2 Samuel chapter 2, right? Okay. So I'm going to read one more chapter, and then I'm going to close out. So this is chapter 3. The 6 sons born to David in Hebron. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. And unto David the sons born in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amon of Abihuna the Jezreelist, and the second son Shilib of Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Tema, king of Gehor, and the fourth Adonijah, the son of Hathach, the fifth Shephanah, the son of Ibital, and the sixth Ithron by Elgala, David's wife, and they were born to David in Hebron, right? So it says, and it came to pass while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rithna, the daughter of Ahab, the son of Ishmael, son of Abner. Wherefore hast thou gone in unto my father's concubine? Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishmael, and said, I am a dog head, which against Judah do show kindness this day unto the house of Saul thy father, to his brethren, and to his friends, and have not delivered thee into the hands of David, that thou chargest me today fault concerning this woman. So do God to Abner, and more also, except as the Lord hath sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah, from Dan even unto Bathsheba. And he could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Who is the land? Saying also, Make thy league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with thee, and bring thou about all Israel unto thee. And he said, Well, I will make a league with thee, but one thing I require of thee, that is, that thou not see my face, except thou first bring Michelle, Saul's daughter, when thou comest to see my face. Okay? And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Saul, saying, Deliver me my wife Michelle, which I espoused to me, which I espoused to me for the 100 foreskins of the Philistines. And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, even from Phizithal, I don't know that name, son of Lachish. And her husband went with her along, weeping behind her to Bethlehem. Then said Abner unto him, Go, return. And he returned. And Abner had commissioned with the elders of Israel, saying, Ye sought for David in times past to be king over you. Now then do it. For the Lord hath spoken of David, saying, By the hand of my servant David, I will serve my people, Israel, out of the hand of the Philistines. And I will save my people out of the hand of the Philistines and out of the hand of their enemies. And Abner also spake in the ears of Benjamin. And Abner went also to speak in the ears of David in Aram, all that seemed good to Israel, and that seemed good to the whole house of Benjamin. So Abner came to David to Aram, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David, I will rise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my Lord, the king, that they may make a league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desired. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. Right? So, and behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. And when Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. Then Joab came to the king and said, What hast thou done? Behold, Abner came unto thee. Why is it that thou hast sent him away, and he be gone, and he is quite gone? Then knoweth Abner the son of Ner that he came to deceive thee, and to know the goings out of thy coming in, and know all that thou doest. And when Joab was come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner, which brought him again from the well of Sirah, but David knew it not. And when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the fifth rib, and he died for the blood of Asherah his brother. And afterwards, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord, forever from the blood of Abner, the son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there not fail from the house of Joab one that have an issue, or that is a leper, or that leaneth on a staff, or that falleth on the sword, or lack of bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asherah at Gibeon in the battle. And David said unto Joab and to all the people that were with him, rent your clothes and gird you your sackcloth and mourn before Abner. And the king David himself followed the bride. And they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. And the king lamentated over Abner and said, died Abner as a fool died. His hands were not bound, nor thy feet put in feathers, as a man falleth before wicked men, so fellest thou. And all the people wept again over him. And when all the people came to cause David to eat meat while it was yet day, David swore, saying, So do God to me, and more also, if I taste bread or aught else till the sun be down. And all the people took notice of it, and it pleased him as whatsoever the king did pleased all the people. For all the people and all Israel understood that it was not of the king to slay Abner the son of Ner. And the king said unto his servants, know ye not that there is a prince and a great man fallen this day in Israel, and I am this day weak, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zephar, be too hard for me. The Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. So that was 2 Samuel chapter 3. And so what happened here is that back to this Lord of hosts thing, David got a Lord of hosts, right? And Saul had a Lord of hosts. And we know that Yahweh got a Lord of hosts. And we know that Nebuchadnezzar had a Lord of hosts. So anyway, what happened was when Saul died, Abner was his Lord of hosts. But David got Joab as his Lord of hosts. And Joab got a problem with Abner. He don't want him to live because he know that David respect him. So Joab came on behind David's back and killed Abner without David's knowing about it. And so, like I was saying before, when Solomon come on the scene after David died, Solomon had to clean that up. So Solomon had to kill Joab because of Joab shedding innocent blood. Not only did he kill Abner, but he killed another guy. And David had to kill David, and Saul had to avenge all that in order for him to reign securely on the throne in peace. He had to clean up all the blood that had been spilled during the time of David. Okay. So any comments on that before we close out? Anybody got anything? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me get this right quick. Yeah, so like I said before, we're gonna try to do a appeal on this decision that YouTube made. So hopefully this won't last long. But right now we're looking at 90 days on Prophets of Awakening. So okay. Give me a minute. Yeah. For everybody that don't know, we got have another channel too. It's non-Messianic conversations. So you just go to YouTube, type that in, and it'll come up. You got Israel Wake Up. You got non-Messianic conversations, and you got Prophets of Awakening. Okay. So with that being said, I'm a computer acting up. I'm gonna say shalom, everybody. I'll see y'all this evening at 6 o'clock for our close out the Sabbath. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom, and another shalom.